Hey guys, it's Fussy here again. Just wanted to come back with a very quick video today and share with you something that I was using last league in a build that I was playing, and I've noticed a lot of people don't really make use of these bench crafts all that much, but I think that personally, I think that they're very powerful, and I think that they could be slotted in virtually every single build. As long as they use a Vaal skill of some sort or have a way of slotting in a Vaal skill. So what I'm talking about is the bench crafts that allow you to gain some pretty insane bonuses during soul gain prevention. So there are helmet modifiers that will grant you 8% chance to avoid elemental damage from hits. On shields, you can gain 3,000 armor during soul gain prevention. On armor, you can also gain 3,000 armor. Or you could take 8% chance to avoid elemental damage from hits. On gloves, you can get onslaught during soul gain prevention or up to 60% increased damage. And on boots, we have the same modifiers as gloves. So with all that being said, we can potentially, with just taking bench crafts of our suffixes on our armor slots, you can gain 6,000 flat armor as well as 120% increased damage, flat increased damage, or take 6,000 armor and onslaught plus 60% increased damage. So what does this all mean? Let's start with soul gain prevention and how that works. Vaal skills gain souls when you damage or kill an enemy. So without getting into the specifics of it all, because you probably don't give a shit about that stuff, once you have gained enough souls, you will see your Vaal skill icon glow red, and then you can actually use it. So it's just going to glow red in your toolbar. If you have multiple Vaal skills, let's say like a Vaal Ice Shot setup, which also uses Vaal Haste maybe, or Vaal Righteous Fire setup, which uses Vaal Molten Shell, stuff like that. So when you use one Vaal skill, both Vaal skills will enter a soul gain prevention period coinciding with the prevention gain cooldown from the Vaal skill that you used. Okay, so for example, Vaal Ice Shot has a soul gain prevention time of 8 seconds. Vaal Haste has a soul gain prevention time of 6 seconds. So let's say if you use Vaal Haste, both skills are going to enter into their soul gain prevention, and you will enter a 6-second soul gain prevention, since that is the soul gain prevention time of Haste, not of Ice Shot. Now, this might sound like it kind of sucks, but it actually ends up being barely noticeable in play, since we kill so many monsters anyways in our maps. Especially with today's game, we've just got such juiced up maps these days that we're gaining Vaal souls at such a high rate. It's typically allowing for multiple uses of each of our Vaal skills during the game. So there are a few different ways that we can abuse this mechanic that I've thought of, at least. I'm sure that some smarter people out there could probably come up with some pretty nifty ways as well. But most notably, what I've been thinking of is playing a Pathfinder with a good amount of investment into flash charge gain, and that way you can get some really high uptime on a Soul Ripper flask, and Soul Ripper consumes its charges and gives the player an equal amount of those charges as Vaal souls. So you could essentially get, like, say, a 75 or 100 charge Soul Ripper, get yourself a good amount of flash charge gain through your Pathfinder Ascendancy, through some Cluster Jewel investment, through the Trader, things like that. And by doing that, you can make sure that essentially your Soul Ripper is going to be available and ready to use the second your soul gain prevention time is over, therefore allowing you to use your Vaal skill right away again, and then you enter soul gain prevention immediately. The soul gain prevention time does start the second you press your Vaal skill. So while your Vaal skill is active, you are still incurring that soul gain prevention time and gaining those bonuses. So keep in mind that when you think of something like Vaal Molten Shell, when I use the Vaal Molten Shell, I can give myself another 6k flat armor before even proccing the Molten Shell. So it's really, really, really nice of a benefit. And to top all of this off, guys, soul gain prevention time can be scaled with skill effect duration. So let's say you're playing a duration-based skill, like Stormburst, for example. Most Stormburst builds use Vaal Righteous Fire in their build, at least a lot of the ones that I was checking out on Po Ninja just before doing this video. The best Stormburst builds also scale their skill effect duration, and they scale that shit as high as possible. So they're usually reaching anywhere between around 100, maybe 115, maybe even more % increased skill effect duration. And so what that means is instead of a 6-second soul gain prevention, their Vaal RF actually has a soul gain prevention time of like 12, sometimes even like 13 seconds. So it's a really high soul gain prevention time, lots and lots of time to be incurring the benefits that you're going to gain from those bench crafts. And in addition to that, if you have another Vaal skill in there, as soon as your Vaal RF comes down, you can press the other one, and now you enter a soul gain prevention again. So it's really, really easy to kind of cycle through them and make sure that you have incredibly high uptime of these skills. Make sure you have incredibly high uptime of the benefits that they're going to give you. If you don't use any Vaal skills at all in your setup, you can always just toss in Vaal Breach if you have the gem slots, like say you have one gem slot available, or you can fit in an unset ring. You can toss in Vaal Breach, and it takes around 100 souls to fill, which is just 100 monsters on a map, or it's 34% of a unique monster's HP bar to be exact. It also has a massive soul gain prevention time of 40 seconds. So scale that with just a little bit of skill effect duration, and you can get that well over a minute without too much investment. And just in case we're not cluing into just how big of a buff this is, guys, 6k armor is like the equivalent of 4 granite flasks, or like wearing 3 body armors. It's also granting you 120% increased damage, which is essentially a better damage increase than you'd get with adrenaline. Then on top of that, you can slot on your helmet 8% chance to avoid elemental damage with hits. It's just insane. These are insane benefits, and the fact that none of us have been using this all that much in the past however long they've been available to us, I haven't looked into that. It just sounds too crazy to me to pass up. And the only way I can honestly see this not being worth slotting in literally any build in PoE right now is if you simply cannot part with those suffixes. Like, let's say your build is just way too short on resistances or way too short on attributes. You need those suffix slots. That part I can understand, but I gotta say, for a potential 6k armor and 120% increased damage, or the 6k armor and 60% increased damage in onslaught, I just might have to force it in, guys. Anyways, that's all for this video. I'll be using these crafts to the fullest extent in my next build, which will be a self-cast Ice Spear Hyro. And we're going to be using the new Crucible mod that allows the projectiles to fire in a circle and then return back to you. So allowing for some double hit actions should be pretty nice. And yeah, so stay tuned for updates on the build a little later in the week. And if you haven't already, please go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Much appreciation, and I love to see it, guys. So yeah, thanks again, Exiles. Take care and peace out.